Our G Fuel code Incon is 30% off until the 26th of October, so make sure you fill up now using that link down in the description. Hello everybody, we are here with your Soul guide. Gonna be playing Soul in the mid lane while she is in that kind of magical hunter archetype with gods like Oleron and Kronos. She tends to do better in the mid lane because she has a little bit more early game damage, early game burst that helps her kind of snowball in the mid lane compared to over in the dual lane where it's a little bit more farming, more late game oriented, where the gods like Oleron really come online in the later stages. So we'll be playing her in the mid lane. For our build, we kind of got an old skill build that you don't see a ton anymore. Grabbing that tier 2 Bancrofts, we're going to be grabbing Bancrofts as our first item. On Soul here, she pairs really well with Lifesteal. So we're going to get a health potion, a mana potion, and our beads, of course. For our first ability, we'll be grabbing our 2 Stellar Burst. This is an ability that you put on your character. You proc it once, and you're going to see that now I've got a targeter in front of me. And when I left click now, I will release this ability out into the world. And it travels in a line, and then it explodes at the end of the line or on the target hit on its way. And it'll do damage in a circle. That damage is going to proc twice. So you're going to see it kind of go out and back in. That motion is going to do damage both on the way out and on the way back in on that ability. So it is a 2-pronged damage ability. So it does the damage on the way out, on the way in. And it also is going to slow enemies hit by it. And it will provide you with 10% heat. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, you can see this bar that is going up when I'm landing these auto attacks or when I'm using my abilities. And now that it's all the way ranked up, Soul makes a little voice effect. I am so angry. And her passive starts spinning. This is a huge, huge, huge part of playing Soul properly. It is maintaining her passive heat. So what this passive does is everything that you basically do is going to build up heat, and then when you're out of combat, you are going to start losing that heat unless you're just randomly proccing abilities, which sometime you're going to want to do. That passive is going to give you a bunch of damage. You gain 1% magical power and 1% attack speed for every 4% heat. You can have up to 100% heat, so that is 25%. At 100% heat, you gain bonus 20% damage on your basic attacks. So 20% potential bonus damage when you're all the way max out, plus the additional attack speed, plus the additional magical power that you get. Your auto attacks provide 5% heat per auto, but you have to hit something with it. You can see I'm auto attacking nothing, and I'm not gaining any heat. But when I press my 2, I gain the heat.
Oh, look how massive they are.
And as I'm actually auto attacking, I'm gonna keep my heat all the way built up. Extremely important, and this is where Soul gets a lot, if not most, of her damage. At level 2, you can either get your 1 or your 3. Either way is fine. Most of the time, you're probably going to end up getting your 3. Your 3 is your getaway ability. This is Disapparate. One of the cooler getaway abilities in Smite. So step 1, when you press this ability, you're going to gain movement speed, 20% at base level, all the way up to 40% as you rank it up. And then you are going to start a 3-second countdown timer. That 3-second countdown timer, you can still use abilities while it's going down. You can still move, you can be running away. But after those 3 seconds, you're gonna go into an invulnerable form. Basically, think about this as like being inside of an Aegis, where you won't take any damage from any sources. And that doesn't that actually specifically say how long that lasts in this ability? I don't think it does. After 3 seconds for a short, wow, it doesn't give you the exact time. That needs to be updated on the UI. If I had to guess, it feels about the same length as an Aegis. I guess we could try to count it out. So 1,002, 1003, and invulnerable 1001, 1002, 1003. That looks like about the same time you actually go invulnerable for about the same time as it takes. So about 3 seconds, it seems. I'm surprised they don't just mention that on the ability. That's weird. They really ought to update that that far. So on top of that, not only does it do that, but if you look behind me, we're going to be leaving behind this cool trail. For those of you that played Fusion Frenzy, you remember this trail from that wonderfully fun minigame. That is neither here nor there. That trail is going to do damage to enemies that dare move across it. So anybody that goes across that trail, they're actually going to take a nice bit of damage, and if they continue to stand in it, they are going to continue to take more damage. It is a really good damaging ability on top of the fact that it's a great getaway skill. We're going to talk about the ulti I promised that we just used, but first we got to talk about our one. Our first ability is the ability that I got at level 4. This is going to be our heat generation ability, really, for the main part. So when I pop this one, you're going to see I generate a bunch of my passive. That's because this ability generates a ton, 40 to 80% of heat. It also regens HP, 25% of missing health over 5 seconds. That is not as strong as it sounds. It sounds like it's really OP, but it's 25% of missing health, not of total health. So most of the time the heal is okay, but that heal combined with the general lifesteal from like a Bancroft's really pairs well together. And on top of that, it is going to do damage right on top of our character. It's a little burst right around our character. I like to have a lot of Soul's abilities on instant casting. So most of the time I use quick casting on my characters, but for Soul, I find that she just works better with instant cast. So I use my 1, my 3, and my 4 for Soul on instant cast. Only my 2 do I keep on that quick casting. Everything that she does just seemingly feels better when it goes off instantly. Finally, we have our ultimate. On our ultimate, this is going to be a multiple iteration ability. It has 8 strikes on it of a circle, and you can kind of paint with this ability. What that means is you kind of start it in a target location. Think about like AMC Honey, where you start it on one location and then you kind of drag it as you go. You can drag this out just like AMC Honey. You don't have to. You can just have it slam the exact same spot over and over and over again, which is great for stuff like an objective. Just have the whole thing come right down on an objective. This is going to give you 40% heat, and it is also going to be a small knockup on the target as well. So I'm gonna try to sneak up a little bit behind these guys. I kind of am out of position, so I'm gonna pop my 3 and just kind of walk away. I'm gonna ulti over this wall, trying to get that Thanatos over the wall. We are gonna get the hit on it, get a little mini knockup. Gonna come back, get a little bit of credit for this wave, and then back out after I get that XP. So this ultimate, 8 times that it procs, is a really, really good damaging ability. But keep in mind, on successive hits, so after that first time you hit it, the rest of them only do 30% damage. But if you do the math on this, 30%, but you get 7 more hits on it, you can still do a ton of damage with this ability. So if you combine that with your 2 and your ulti, it's gonna 100 to 0 most squishies as long as you actually hit them with it. Now that we've gotten through our build, we can talk a little bit more about our items. So you can see that we're going a big lifesteal build, something that you would see on somebody like an Anubis or a Hades. Same kind of concept here. You get so much lifesteal from your abilities, from your 1 combination with the fact that it already heals you. And Soul really, really, really likes to stick around in the fights. That's because of her heat concept. It means that Soul doesn't really want to have to go in and out of fights. Soul wants to be involved in continually auto-attacking, continually being involved in the combat, because if she's not, she's gonna be dropping out of her heat, which means minus up to 25% attack speed, minus up to 25% power, minus up to bonus 20% auto attack damage. And you obviously don't want that. I gotta be a little careful right here. I'm just gonna keep farming, get as much damage off as I can. Do a little 2-proc on Thanda. He's gonna take a bunch of damage. So for our leveling order, here on Soul, we get our ultimate whenever we can. We grab our 2 because this is our main form of poke and lane clear. And then here at the end, you actually can do it depending on your playstyle, your 1 or your 3. Most people rank up the 1 here for the heat generation, so that way they can go right into combat, pop their 1, and have most of their heat already ready, so they don't have to be in combat as much. The 3 is actually quite damaging, and it increases your movement speed on this ability, which allows you to play more aggressively. Like, you can use it as a chasing ability as well. In general, though, you're probably going to end up breaking up your 1 here next. And then finally your 3. Although I admit I have been known to rank up my 3 before the 1, using it to chase people down and surround them with the flame wave to get extra damage off. But it's probably not optimal in those situations. So get the 1 in order to get your heat generated up.
Another Patriot has fallen.
Having an aggressive rock coming for me right now. That is fine. So on Soul, are you really doing this right now? It's pretty rude. On Soul, you'll see me a lot of the times press abilities, even though it's not necessarily time for a fight. Even though I'm not like hitting a camp or anything, sometimes on Soul you want to proc your abilities in order to keep your heat generated. So what that means is sometimes when we're running through the jungle, especially if I'm on my way to a fight, if I pop my 3, you can see that I generate a little bit of heat, but eventually that heat is going to start coming down. If I pop my 1, I get a bunch of heat. And if I pop my 2, the 2 is interesting. You pop the 2 one time, you start to get some heat, but you also get this generated ability. And so you have to pop that generated ability again before you can get back into your heat development. So I'm going to pop my 1 as I'm moving over to the fight. I'm going to pop my 2 right there on the rock, throw down my ulti, which hopefully is going to chase him on the way out. Not quite going to be able to reach him through his bonus raw movement speed, but it looks like Hercules is going to be able to do it for us. So right here, popping my 3 aggressively to come get involved in this fight, using it for the bonus movement speed. And now I've kind of got Cupid zoned out. He's going to try to dash away. That is predictable. We aim our 2 a little bit towards that wall. Bada bing, bada boom. Another thing that you need to keep in mind on Soul is that you can cancel. You can cancel out of your 3. You do not have to use the whole immunity phase. Most of the time, obviously, you're using this ability for immunity, but sometimes you're using it for damage. So right there when I was fighting that Thanatos, I popped my 3. I kind of moved in a little bit of a circular motion to make sure that that damage was going to be proccing on him from that line. And then the second that I was about to go into my invulnerability, I basically just right-click. So I'm right-click spamming. Boom. You can see I barely even go into that invulnerability. So if you're using it for the aggression, right, whether it's just the bonus movement speed to catch up to somebody, whether it's for the damage, you don't want to be in that invulnerability stage for 3 seconds because you can't use any auto attacks or abilities while you're in it. Think of it basically like an Aegis. So if you want to use it aggressively, you want to quickly get yourself right back out of it so you can go back into fighting. Now we're going to be grabbing ourselves a Typhon's Fang, and we're going to be going into the rings. This is where the build will start to get a little bit more familiar probably to you for those of you that play those other magical hunters. So we've got the Bancrofts, the Helium Steelies, and our Typhon's Fang. This is going to give us a bunch of damage, a bunch of life steal. We don't really need cooldown on Soul because we are an auto attack god at the end of the day. But we also have great ability damage, which is why we like to get some of this more power-heavy items early. And then we're going to start leaning into the rings, those more attack speed-based items, which is going to help us transition Soul into the later stages of the game. Now, I'm about to go attack this tower, so I'm going to pop my 1 to max out my heat. That way I get all of this bonus damage on the tower. I'm popping my 3 right now, which is going to bring me into my invulnerable stage. I'm going to stay in it this time because I don't want any follow-up damage on me from the Raw. Now, you cannot use this third ability while you are CC'd or anything, but if you press it beforehand and then you get CC'd while it's already going off, that ability will continue to go off. So if I get Kumamez right here, you can see, boom, I get myself out of that Kumamez because my 3 was already started. So it helps break me out of dangerous situations, even when I'm already getting into them. I'm gonna go gank a Zhong over here in right lane. What the? This guy has real moved up far. This is interesting. I'm gonna pop my 3 because Zhong blink ulted in and Thorns. Now I'm gonna immune all that damage he's trying to put out on me. Gonna throw down an ulti just right on top of him, plus my 1. Aegis here to avoid a lot of damage. Hopefully we can put down that Zhong. We do, and we're gonna get the Thana as well. Holy cow, I'm using my 3 for the bonus movement speed. Trying to come in aggressive on this Ra. I'm gonna throw down my 1 right on top of him. Luckily, Ra ulti is already down, so he can't follow up with it. Kumba dashes in, hit him with the 2 for that slow. We're gonna get some big auto attack damage, make sure we're out of the range of that 3. Popping my 3 once again aggressively for that bonus movement speed. Well, I'm gonna switch my target back to Ra. I'm gonna cancel out of my 3 now that I wanna be getting the damage off again. Keep on moving forward, and we're just gonna grab ourselves yet another kill, and we should be able to head over to the Gold Fury. So for our next item, I'm gonna be getting myself into a Talkine's Ring. We'll be getting penetration a little bit late in this build, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care a ton about early pen on Soul. We've got 10% pen from the Typhon's Fang, and we're eventually going to get ourselves a demonic grip after we get the Talkine's Ring. The Talkine's Ring damage combined with Soul's passive is so crazy good. You're basically getting bonus damage on your bonus damage on your bonus damage, which is absolutely fantastic. I have no mana right now, so I can't really help the team, so I'm going to continue to back away. One more cool thing about Soul 3 that we won't actually get to see this game because of the team comps is that Souls 3 also works as a Phantom. So Souls 3 can go through things like Odin Cage, Ymir Wall, whatever. It's because it leaves her incorporeal. So basically it gives you like an Aegis Phantom combo. They don't have anybody that produces walls on their team. So that doesn't really matter in this game, but it is a cool feature of Soul 3. We just won't get to use it. You can't go through like regular walls or anything, but you can go through player-made action. Got our Talkine, so now I'm going to get the demonic grip online because we're going to obviously need penetration at some point, especially for things like the objectives. For our matchups on Soul, Soul is not super popular right now. I would put her at maybe A- tier, where she is definitely viable. She can be kind of funky to play sometimes, but she does have some good potential damage output. She's not bad against the towers and the objectives. She's just okay all around. Because of that, she's just more of a comfort pick than anything right now. She's not particularly a god that you are going to counter pick with. It's not like you see, oh, they've got a Cupid, I'm gonna pick Soul. She's not that type of god. Her immunity is the only thing I would say that makes her super extraordinary in terms of that. So if they do have a lot of player-made walls, if they do have a lot of delayed ults, right? Anything that your 3 can help you get out of. If anything, that is when I would look to pick Soul. You're like, oh no, I don't want to get trapped by this ability. Oh no, I don't want to get hit by this like Kraken, so I'm gonna have my 3. Zhong comes in, he blink ulties. I've got my 3 going so I can get away. Cool stuff like that is probably where she's the most viable. Oof. I'm gonna throw down a little defensive ulti plus my defensive 3 right here. And you can see, I mean, Soul's got some cool tidbits right there. So what I did was I had preemptively popped. I had preemptively popped my 3. Thana came in on me. As my 3 was popping, I threw down my ultimate, which is going to keep going off no matter what. So then I had my ulti damage going plus my 3 damage going at the same time. You can even potentially get your 1 down during that, so you can have like 3 areas, all of damage, all going at the same time, helping keep you alive, of course, combined with our lifesteal build. Soul can be difficult to kill because she's got this lifesteal with this build. She's got a little bit of heal on her 1. She's got the immunity on her 3. She's got CC immunity on her ulti. She's got a lot of stuff that makes for a good kit. Some of her numbers have just been tweaked down a little bit in recent times, so that's why she's not quite as formidable as she used to be. For gods that you really don't want to be playing against, though, on Soul, for gods you're picking against her, anything with anti-heal right off the bat. Anti-heal is a disaster for Soul. It basically ruins your 1. It's going to ruin your most effective builds. It's just going to make your life a lot harder than it needs to be. So watch out for any and all big anti-heals. This goes for gods, too, that can apply anti-heal really easily. Sometimes people forget, but like Zhongqi is really, really good at applying anti-heal because of the nature of his ultimate and the way that it just interacts with like Divine Ruin. Just being able to apply it on so many people so fast is really, really efficient. But also the normal suspects, the Sobeks with built-in siphoning strikes, the circuits of the world, all that stuff. If you can't do your lifesteal action, you're not gonna be nearly as effective. Bullseye. Getting that demonic grip here going at the end, only a couple hundo gold away from that. You can play Soul over in the dual lane. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I truly just don't believe she gets the most out of her kit there because you have to wait until basically this part of the game, which is really when the ADCs are coming online. But as you can see also by her first death, this is not Soul's strongest portion of the game. I would say her strongest portion of the game is probably the first 15 minutes when you can really abuse things like an early Bancrofts for that lifesteal to be taking on those 1v1s, 1v2s. And then at the end of the game, she just becomes kind of fine. Kind of fine. But hopefully once we get our demonic grip online, some more rings, a little bit more attack speed, will be a little bit more dangerous. They did send everybody all over to the Gold Furies. This is a great opportunity to run over to the Fire Giant. Keep in mind that your 3 is a reset as well. So if I'm like tanking the Fire Giant on Soul and then I use my 3, that will reset the Fire Giant completely off of me. I'm gonna throw down my ulti right here. I'm gonna start it on the Fire Giant, but I'm gonna paint it right towards that Thanatos. I'm going to use my 3 to get closer to Zhongqi so I can try to hit him with some combos. Not going to be able to hit him with anything. He's actually got a good bit of sustain himself. I'm still trying to stick around with my Guan Yu. Got to be careful while my abilities are down. I'll get myself out of that Cupid combo, no problem. Got to pop my 3 again because now I'm getting chased down. Not going to get slowed by any of that because I'm in my immune form. Pop my 1 to keep my heat up and get a little bit of sustain. This is a little annoying. I'm actually gonna go down right here. That was a really good Kumba blink. The good news is we got the Fire Giant. The bad news is I don't actually think we're probably gonna win a team fight this game, just to be honest with you. They've got a much better composition. So we're gonna grab that demonic grip. Now we're entering the late stages of the game. We've lost really our big 1v1s capabilities, so we're gonna go into a little bit more team-oriented now. We're gonna grab ourselves a nice Divine Ruin. They've got a Ra, a Thanatos, they've got a lot of self-sustain. So if we can get this Divine Ruin up and running, our abilities are going to proc that. Soul okay at proccing Divine Ruin. I recommend it over a Toxic Blade. While Toxic Blade is gonna give you that attack speed and whatnot, Soul does have some nice AoEs in her kit, meaning you can get that Divine Ruin procced onto more people faster than you're going to be able to get the Toxic Blade procced out onto everybody.
Can't catch this.
At the end of the game, you are going to be in that mage or hunter position, which means chances are you are going to be one of the focus targets for the enemy team. So this means you're going to be playing pretty far back in your team fights. Luckily for you, Soul Ultimate does go over walls. Your 1 does not, obviously it's right on top of yourself. Your 2 does not go through walls either. It will hit walls, and you can use it for the explosion radius to be a little bit easier to hit for people that are near walls, but it doesn't go through them. Your 3 will bring you through player-made walls, but not through actual walls on the map. But your ultimate, you can throw over walls. It is your only way to do damage over walls, so keep that in mind. It is also a great defensive ability. There's absolutely nothing wrong with throwing down your ultimate right on top of yourself as a self-healing ability. A lot of damage, plus it's a little knockup, help gain a little distance between you and the enemy team. Gotta keep my heat mostly built up right here. Pop 1 for a little bit of healing. Gotta pop my 3 and just try to run away from the Zhong Kui ASAP. And I'm gonna try to go heal up a little bit. I'm gonna get a little sentry ward. Pop my 1 off here in the jungle. Get my 2 and just try to help out the boys. I'm gonna throw down a big ulti onto 3 members right there. I don't really know if it's gonna matter. We got a lot of damage. And pop my 3 because Thanatos is probably coming for me, but this will give me that nice immunity. Should outlast him in the air, actually. Pop my 1 as soon as I come out. Try to get my 2 back to peel and keep on running away.
Another patriot has fallen.
3 dead for 30 seconds. They got 5 people up. We're in the danger zone for them ending the game right now, I would say. So I'm going to stand back in this Titan room, try to get a little bit of poke off. They do have the raw sustain, so they're going to be able to heal up pretty much to full, but they're backing out, which is actually nice for us. If they would have gone for the end there, probably 50-50 that they would have gotten it, honestly. They're just going to go for the tier 2 over in right lane instead. At this point in the game, we're just hitting whatever is in front of us, trying to get up as much damage as possible. But it's really going to be up to just our front line to be able to get back there on the problematic gods right now, which seem to be mostly this raw. And the Zhong Kui, to be fair, is being pretty problematic as well with this ulti, but we do good damage to him. But you really have to wait for that Zhong Kui ulti to be down before you can go crazy hard on him, which is great for us on Soul because we just pop our 3 and then we don't basically take half the damage from Zhong Kui ult. But it doesn't really matter if everybody else is dead by the time that we come out of our little immunity cocoon. Fire Giant is respawning though, so we should be trying to get set back up for the Fire Giant. I would love to have my Divine Ruin online by the time that this fight happens. I don't know if I'm gonna be so lucky as to make that the case, but I'm gonna do everything that I can to farm up and get this Divine to help out the team. Fire Giant has spawned. We're only 1 Phoenix down. I'm popping my 3 because Kumba's liable to smack me with an ulti. This is actually could be a really good fight for us. I'm throwing down my ulti for the CC immunity. I'm gonna pop my beads right here. I'm gonna pop my Aegis. They used a lot on me over in this corner. Yeah. We had a lot of potential to turn that into being a good fight without them having the Fire Giant. But unfortunately, everybody's just very scared right now. They should be able to just run down and end the game. So what we did right there that allowed us to live so long, even though they had their whole team running at us, is we start off that fight, right? We get off our 3, which starts running us away from the enemy team. We get off a couple abilities while that is happening. Then our 3 officially goes off, which buys us 3 seconds. The second I come out of my 3, I pop my ultimate, which is going to grant me CC immunity. Plus, it does a bunch of damage to everybody that is around that. So we did a bunch of damage to the Ra and the Kuma. Then I immediately go into my Aegis, which is once again going to buy me a couple more seconds. And then after my Aegis, I can once again pop my beads, buying me a couple more seconds of CC immunity. So you can buy yourself like 7-8 seconds on Soul. If you have all of your kit up, which standardly is going to be enough for your team to get around you, to be making the play so they can get there and start peeling with things like a shell, anything like that. There at the end of the game, we were going to be getting our last couple of items in that game. We had our double rings online. We got ourselves our Divine Ruin for the anti-heal. So we would have sold our Shoes of the Magi and grabbed one last ring that game. You can go Ring of Hecate. I don't particularly like Ring of Hecate, so I would have personally gotten Hastened Ring for the extra movement speed and the extra kiting. But I don't personally like the Ring of Hecate. You can combine it. There's nothing wrong with grabbing that on top of the Banecrofts and the Typhons. Lifesteal is good, but it is not personally one of my favorite items, guys. And that is our soul guide.